Welcome to One Breath Wisdom, the podcast for therapists, healers, and soul-led space holders, ready to lead from wholeness, not burnout. I am Lisa McNett, founder of One Breath Institute and co-creator of the One Breath Method. Each week, I will be sharing trauma-informed insight, somatic tools, and real stories from the healing path, sometimes solo, sometimes with our co-founder, Deborah Dickey, and sometimes with special guests walking this path in their own powerful way. Together, we will explore how healing, embodiment, and presence can transform the way we live, lead, and care for others without losing ourselves. Let's take a breath and begin. Hello and welcome to One Breath Wisdom. I am your host, Lisa McNett. Today's topic is going to be about the mind and about thoughts and our own thoughts versus others' thoughts and how books can influence us, create wisdom within us, or maybe not have that effect. So let's go ahead and dive in. This is inspired by a recent conversation that really stuck with me. I met someone who told me, as an accomplishment to impress me, that they had read 1,000 books over 5 years. And that was a lot to me. When I did the math, I realized that was half a book a day. And so it had the opposite effect of impressing me. Instead of feeling impressed, I felt curious, wow, how did you do that? And how could you have integrated all of that knowledge and all of that wisdom in a way that it's really meaningful in your life right now? How did you apply that? And even deeper than that, where is the space for your own thoughts? Where is the space for your own mind? Where's the space for some quiet? Because it's in the quiet where we have space to digest and to integrate and to discern or to be creative about how this thought is inspiring me, how what I've read is opening something up within me. I feel like this is such an important topic because today information is constant. Books, podcasts, social media, reel, trainings, they are so much more widely available than they ever were before. We are in a situation where technology is at our fingertips and we are always taking something in. And it's so easy to start believing that more information is equal to more growth or equal to more clarity or being smarter or holding more truth. But I really don't think that is true, because what I know to be true is that a full mind is not a clear mind. It is the opposite. Kind of makes me wish that I had brought a jar of mud mud and water here. I was going into women's prison bringing in meditation. My mentor, just right outside, he would scoop dirt into a clear glass jar, fill it up with water, stir it up, and then it would just be mud, right? It's just muddy water that is all stirred up. And after the muddy water sat there for a period of time, let's say an hour, depending on how large the glass is, that dirt, that mud has all settled to the bottom and the water is clear again. That is the same thing. That is to indicate meditation. That is how the mind becomes more clear. It's through that, giving it the opportunity to process and to allow the thoughts to settle and to calm down instead of just stirring them up. And we're stirring them up by consistently bringing in information. Information is everywhere. But wisdom is different. Wisdom is what happens when information is lived, when information is integrated, when we take it through our own experience, and when it becomes embodied. And without that information, it just becomes more thoughts, more noise, more mental activity moving through a mind that is generally or probably already full. And if we're not careful, then we start filling our mind with other people's thoughts instead of creating the space to hear our own thought. This is actually something I've been exploring more deeply inside my private community this month is bringing awareness to thoughts and noticing thought patterns and learning how to relate to the mind more consciously. Because most people don't realize this, that they're not just thinking their own thoughts. They are thinking thoughts that they've absorbed, thoughts that have been repeated, thoughts that we have inherited for others, thoughts that we picked up in places that we don't even realize, like when we're in a coffee shop or at the grocery store or overhearing somebody else's conversation. So, where do thoughts come from? Where do thoughts actually come from? And how many of the thoughts that you are thinking every day are truly yours? Most of our thoughts are conditioned patterns, repeated loops, things we've taken in from books or from media or from conversations, from parents, from school systems. The nervous system and our thoughts, they are so interconnected. And maybe we'll go into this more in another one and really look at how the thoughts and the nervous state are so connected. But thoughts create emotion, emotion creates thoughts, and the state of being that we are in, the nervous system state of being that we are in, has everything to do with the type of thoughts that we are, I'm going to say, receiving. So, first, modern science echoes what the mystics have observed long ago. And that is that the mind generates a constant stream of mental activity, with many thoughts being repetitive. The mind carries a natural negative bias. Much of the mental movement that we have, the thoughts that we're having, happens automatically. So, in other words, thoughts are happening even when we are not choosing them, right? Most of us would choose to not have certain thoughts. If we could choose to not have thoughts, I'm sure many, 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 many of us would choose to not have a lot of the thoughts that we're having, or to have more quiet space in our minds every day. This is why meditation is so, I hear from people all the time that meditation is so hard because the mind is consistently going. So we can't stop thinking. So the real question becomes, if thoughts are always moving, then who am I? Who are you in relationship to them? So I looked up some stats and I saw that according to the Laboratory of Neuroimaging at the University of Southern California and in other places as well, the average brain generates 48.6 thoughts per minute, or about 70,000 thoughts per day, with most of those thoughts being repetitive or replayed from the day before. And I also feel that there's so much noise pollution in our lives that we often don't even realize that that noise pollution is contributing to the thoughts in our mind. You watch something or you walk in and out of some place, and then all of a sudden you're thinking about something completely random and it's affecting the way that you're feeling, or you're feeling in a different state. And so now you're thinking about something seemingly completely random. So something that I talk about, you may have heard me say this before, is about the mind as a receiver. The mind is a receiver. We are nervous systems. Our nervous systems have tendrils. We are connecting with our environment at all times, and our mind is like a radio that is tuning into different frequencies. So wow, radios are becoming a thing of the past, aren't they? But hopefully you still know what I'm saying when I speak about how you can tune into a different channel on the radio. We can also do that on the TV, right? We pick up now a remote control and we just change to a different channel. And when you change to a different channel, you are tuning into different information. On the radio, though, There's the frequencies actually are connected to numbers, and the lower frequencies are to the left and the higher frequencies are to the right. And this could also be down or up, or it could also be in a circle. And I say this because there's a lot of talk in our world today about like high vibes or higher frequencies and like higher is better. And it's not like that. Like high is like up here and low is down here. It's more like Dr. David Hawkins put out a book called Power versus Force. I reference it a lot. And he gave different frequencies, different numerical ratings to emotional states in addition to other things. But depression and shame and fear and anger are all given different numerical ratings, and they're lower than love. And that is because if we think about depression, let's just take depression. Depression is very low energy. It's very withdrawn. It's very just low energy, right? But something like love and something very more expansive has a higher, a greater resonance frequency. It can be felt more fully. It can be felt by more people, right? So we take it like that, let's use that analogy for that radio frequency. And so when I am in a more depressed state, I am tuned into that more depressed state, and I'm going to be connecting with the thoughts that are available when I'm tuned into that frequency of depression. And it can be very hard. Depression is one of those places that when we're in, it can be very hard to tune into another frequency, but we need to, and we need to find as much support as we can to be able to. And some of the things that we can do to support ourselves would be to listen to music that is uplifting, to start to move the body, to look at art or to find things that may be inspiring or more inspirational to support us feeling a little bit better. And in that same way, right, when we are in a state of feeling like happy, we're going to be connecting more to the thoughts that are available to somebody who is happy. And so when we get into if we're reading books, we are receiving the information and the mental activity that is connected to, that is coded into that book through the words that are written. And that is coming in. It also has a feeling, it also has sensations. And the best books evoke curiosity within us, evoke feelings and emotions within us. Yeah, so just coming back to that, if we're anxious, we're usually thinking about more, catastrophic things. Or if we're grounded, we're oftentimes more clear. We have more clarity. If we're overwhelmed, the mind usually gets louder, right? So it's not just what you think about. That's the main point I'm making here. It's about the space that you are creating and the state that you're in, and how you can shift the state that you're in as well by the way that you feel or the thoughts that you're thinking. So, if you are constantly consuming, I'm going to come back to this, constantly reading, constantly listening, constantly talking, constantly taking in information, then when does your mind get to be quiet? When does your mind and your system get to integrate those things that you are bringing in? When do your own insights have the space and the opportunity to arise? Because here's the truth, more information does not equal more truth. I'm going to say that again. At some point, more information actually pulls you further away from your own knowing. And we can have information. Some of you may have, I've experienced information overload where we have so much information. And now what? Now what do I do with all of this information? I have it all. I don't know what to do first. I don't know where to start. Information overload. This is I know you have experienced that. It's such a real thing. This is where we just have to stop consuming and start walking the path, ourselves. I love reading. I love books. I just want to come back to books are not bad. Some books are so incredibly powerful and have changed my life. The most powerful books are not the ones that you read quickly. They are the ones that spark something within you. They don't just give you thoughts. They awaken your own thoughts. They awaken your own curiosities. They help you to access more within yourself. And if we're taking time when we're reading that book, right? We're reading some of it and then putting it down and we're giving ourselves the space. It's the space, not the input, that gives us the opportunity for more clarity and more, I'm going to say, inner standing to come. And I think that I know that is what is missing for a lot of people is space, not more practices, not more knowledge, not more content, but space. And I know that this is content, so hopefully you will, maybe after you have watched this or listened to this podcast, you will take some space, go for a walk, sit outside, stare at a tree, take some space and notice your own thoughts. Question your own thoughts. Feel what's underneath them and let something deeper emerge. Let something deeper emerge. Some books, some podcasts, some information, it sparks something within you. That's what is powerful. That's what's powerful. What gets awakened within you in connection to whatever material you are taking in. Now, I want to mention the importance of bringing in creative thought and being responsible for your thoughts, because thoughts are not neutral. The thoughts that you repeatedly believe, the ones that are always there, the ones that you rehearse, the ones that drive our deepest beliefs that we act from, that shape our state, that shape our choices, your relationships, your life. You need to become more aware of these thoughts, because this points to the patterns that you're feeding, the patterns that you're stuck in. And this points to information that you've taken in and maybe not question. We need to be more introspective. We need to create the space to hear what's already within us, to evaluate what's in us, the thoughts that are in us, the actions that we're doing. So I'm going to extend this invitation to you. Not to control your mind, not to perfect your thinking, but to start noticing more, to become aware of the thoughts moving through you. If you have a really good idea, if you have a really powerful and potent thought, that is landed there for you for a reason. Do it. Act upon it. Notice your fears. Notice those other negative thoughts that are there. I don't think I mentioned this earlier when I brought in the statistics on thoughts, but most of our thoughts are negative. Most of our thoughts are not positive. And this is really interesting to me. There's a few reasons for this. Part of our brain's job is to keep us safe, and keeping us safe is keeping us in the familiar and keeping us out of danger. And the mind doesn't know the difference between a real or an actual threat. So if you have this really amazing idea, but it's a little scary to the mind, all of these other negative thoughts are going to come up. Those are patterns. Those are patterns. Be aware of the patterns that stop you from creating your life from a more conscious place and from potentially embodying or bringing through more wisdom or growing, inviting you to create a little more space between you and your thoughts. Because from that space, you have the power to change. You can choose what you feed. You can choose what you believe. You can choose what to act upon. You can choose what grows. You're taking the water to the garden. And the thoughts, when you listen to the ones that are there that are not supporting you, you're unconsciously allowing those weeds to take over. So you get to choose what grows. And maybe if you let yourself create a little bit more space and see what begins to emerge, you'll recognize how much wisdom you actually have access to. And you'll have the opportunity to integrate so much of those pieces or more of those pieces that you've been taking in. And maybe you'll have a little or a lot less self-doubt, anxiety, whatever it is that you're experiencing that keeps you distracted or keeps you from being fully in your power. Thanks so much for listening. Send this to somebody who needs to hear it and share your comments. I'd love to hear how this landed for you.
Thank you for listening to One Breath Wisdom. If something in today's episode spoke to you, I would love to know it. Send me a message on Instagram at One Breath Institute or at Lisa McNett, and please share the episode with someone else who needs to hear it. Remember, you are not here to carry it all. You are here to come home to yourself, one breath at a time. Until next time, take a breath and be well.